What's going on YouTube? This is your boy Kamen Zero Spike back again once again. And today, people, today we're here for Kamen Geats episode 22, and we're down to the big three in this episode right here, and we get a bunch of more stuff revealed. Is actually, but I'm very neutral in this episode. I'm very neutral. Also, we got the debut of Kamen Rider Zen or Kamen Rider Gene, but I'm gonna call him Kamen Rider Zen because his name is literally Zin. So I'm calling him Zen, okay? Which he debuted his rider suit, and we're gonna get to that. But in this episode, basically, we see that this is the time for the final game, and they are basically still trying to figure out who the Desert Star is. But we know who the Desert Star is, and we see that Neon has a mission for her today, which she has to sabotage other riders during the game. And while she's sabotaging the other riders, basically trying to get everybody off her trail, and eventually she's able to win the game in the end. She doesn't want to do it at first. Like she has to go down a little dark path, but she sucks it up and gets ready to do it eventually. Well, does it eventually. But we see during the game, we see that in the game, the Jamato are not showing up. The Jamato aren't showing up, and with no Jamato, there can't be a game. So since the Jamato aren't here, there's no game. So we see that the game master is getting kind of about this. He's like, oh man, if there's no game master, then the audience is gonna get bored and all this other ish. So he ends up calling Archimetal, yeah, the guy who's in charge of all the Jamato. He calls Archimetal. He's like, "Hey man, when the Jamato is gonna be here?" Like, and Archimetal is just not having it. He's so freaking. He hates the DGP people so freaking much. He's just like, oh yeah, whatever, tough titty. You know, it's just like, hey, we still cooking over here, so you just gonna have to wait, big dog, and you just have to figure it out on your own. Since there aren't any Jamato out here, and we see that he's grown a lot of new little breed Jamato, but he's keeping them like under wraps for right now. They're all fiending to get out of there, but he's keeping them under wraps right now because of Daichi. We see that Daichi has come up with a plan to basically hold all the Jamato here and see what the DGP basically does. And he concludes that the game master is going to just do something on his own and make up his own game in order for them to lead him out, in the open. We see that now that he comes up with his own little game where he decides that he is going to play hide and seek with the other riders, and their job is to find him and to basically, capture him until time runs out. But they have a set time limit to find him, and there are a bunch of traps laying around the whole place, and also there are his hacked DGP riders that are going around, also distracting them. So he hinges up into Kamen Rider Glare, but he turns into Glare 2, and it's a small repaint of regular Glare, and he's acting super freaking silly in this too. He doesn't really fight like that. There really isn't any fighting in this episode, but he's doing everything to like lead them off of him, get them off of him, and things like that. We see that as usual, they always make my boy K-Wa the butt of the freaking joke. So he's the one getting hit in all the traps and things like that. And when he gets hit in all the traps, we see that Neon actually decides to do a little sabotage, and she tells him that, oh hey, I think I see the game master over there. And then that's when K-Wa runs over there to find the game master, but he ends up getting caught in a trap. He ends up getting caught in a cage. And you also see that there's like a bunch of like landmine type bombs all over the place as well. So yeah, so they end up losing the first round, and when they lose the first round, we see that they're off in this restaurant getting a snack, and we see that Neon is kind of trying to get everybody off her trail by constantly blaming Ace. He's constantly blaming Ace for what happened and stuff like that, even when Ace also kind of blamed her for what's going on as well. He says like, oh, it seems like you deliberately told K-Wa to go over there and stuff like that. And then she's also talking to K-Wa a lot, trying to get K-Wa on her side so she can both like try and blame Ace. But we see that K-Wa is still very suspicious of that, and we'll get to that in a second. But we see that Ace kind of hints at them about the whole, like, picks at them about the whole, like, hey, you guys, since you guys are getting along so much, you guys might as well be boyfriend and girlfriend. And that makes both of them kind of stand up in the middle of the place. And Neon drops a bunch of her, like, her girly stuff, like the makeup and the mirror and the powder stuff. She ends up dropping a bunch of that. And then when she picks everything up, we see that her mirror lands next to this guy in a trench coat. And this guy, he's wearing regular clothes while they're in the restaurant, but he still, like, sticks out. I don't know, but he still kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in this place. So they ended up leaving the restaurant, just Neon by herself, and she's by herself, and she talks and this guy comes up to her and gives her back her mirror that she dropped. But he tells her that, hey, not everybody, just because you're famous and not everybody that watches you is a fan of you. Not everybody that watches you is going to like it, basically likes you. And he tells her that, hey, you misleading people is going to bite you in the butt someday. And she's like, oh, well, get lost then if you're not my fan of me. And he's like, I can't get lost yet, not when you're so naive. So, new guy. We see about this new guy might be Neon's real true love or something like that. I saw somebody post that earlier today, and I was like, I don't know about this. I hadn't watched the episode yet, so that's basically how I felt about that. But I'm thinking that this guy is, probably going to end up being like a new supporter of hers. Probably somebody that what her dad was also talking about when he said that, oh, she has multiple supporters and things like that. So maybe this guy is like legit. I don't know. Maybe he's also going to be. This guy has to be a writer at some freaking point. I just feel it in my Kamen Rider bones. But after that, we see that the second round, we see that Betuba, I got her name this time, Betuba, I'm about to say Jice. This isn't Dragon Ball, but Betuba and Buffa and Daichi, they end up deciding to end up going out in the field now, since that the second round of the game is about to start, because they have a plan. So while they are running around trying to catch the game master, he ends up they end up running off, and they ended up doing something. Well, we see that his hacker riders are attacking them. So we see that Geats gets ready to fire at one of them, but Neon sees this, and she jumps in front of in her way of sabotage, she jumps in front of Geats' attack. And when she jumps in front of his attack, she ends up getting hit by it, and she ends up blaming that on Geats, telling Keiwa that, hey, you shot me, he shot me on purpose. You see that? He shot me on purpose. And he said, and then that's when she tells Keiwa that we're not gonna let him fool us and things like that anymore. But then that's when the Geats is like, okay, like the angle that they had at his face when he was you couldn't see his face, but you could see his face. Like his face he was like, man, what the F are you talking about? Like, what are you really talking about right now? Trying to blame it on him, trying to say that he aimed at her. But Keiwa basically says that, yeah, nah, you're the disaster. And Neon's like, how did you even know that? He's like, it's Ace. Ace plays everything. Ace plays everything. It has all his plans out, laid out to a T. He would never leave a track. He would never leave a trail leading back to him. Like, if he was the disaster, we would never freaking know. Like, Ace is pretty freaky. He's a fox. Ace is pretty good at covering his tracks. And she said, it obviously has to be you. So they ended up concluding that it is her. But while this is happening, we see that the game master ends up getting attacked. He ends up getting attacked by Daichi and Buffa. He ends up getting attacked by them, and they're attacking him and basically trying to take away his vision driver. And we see that Betuba does show up, and Betuba ends up pulling out something that looks very similar. She pulls out something that looks very similar to the device that Zen ends up using to henshin with, but it's pink. And her rider form gets teased. We don't see her turn into her rider form or hear sound from it, but we see, like, from what the game master was experiencing. We see that she teased her rider form. So they ended up beating him. They ended up beating the crap out of him. And while they're beating him up, they basically said, okay, the world is finally ours and stuff like that. And they're basically trying to steal his vision driver. So while they're trying to steal his vision driver, we see that Zen actually appears, and he's trying to come and save the basically save the game master and keep Beruba from getting the vision driver and then he ends up henching up into his rider form, which is Kamen Rider Zen. Now, cool name. Cool freaking name. The name's dope. This suit's so ugly. This suit is very ugly. I'm sorry. This suit sucks. Only thing I really like about this suit is the color scheme. The color scheme is fantastic. And the way he henchins and stuff is very awesome. Is pretty good too. We see that we also basically we're introduced to a whole new different rider belt or driver in this as well. And it looks his right. The thing about this form wasn't ever teased in magazines, and it seems like they're selling the belt, the belt and the belt buckle. Well, they're selling like the buckle that he attaches to, the part where he pulls out and attaches to the gun part and shoots. Yeah, all that part's gonna be sold separately than from the belt, because the belt basically looks like nothing. It just looks like a belt that he just attaches the other thing to. But yeah, man, this suit doesn't look all cool. Like, what is up with your neck? Like, what is this big neck thing, man? Like, the way his suit looks before the head part and the neck part appear is perfectly fine. You could have did that. And the way he's like, his suit kind of like digitizes on, like kind of like some nanotech looking stuff kind of comes on to him. Yeah, that's cool, but the suit's ugly. Color scheme's great, but the suit's ugly as hell. So episode basically ends off right there with him actually henching up, and then the next episode seems like the DGP is going to be postponed indefinitely because of all the stuff that's going on right now, and most likely it seems like Zen is probably going to fail in stopping Beruba from getting the vision driver from the game master. But after that, yeah, but this episode was pretty freaking I'm neutral when it comes down to this episode. But seeing that we have like 3 drivers now in the series, we see that our regular riders, the Desire driver seems like it's very animal based. Like, hello phone. It seems like it's very animal kind of based, and when we get to the vision driver, it's just straight tech. But then we get to Zen's driver, and it's also just like mega tech. So like, I love the vision driver though. Like, it's like my favorite driver, one of my most favorite drivers of all time. Like, this driver looks absolutely cool. The way it sounds, like everything about this driver looks freaking cool. And then when we see the game master henching up into Glare 2, he does it very weirdly. That's the weirdest freaking henching I've ever freaking seen. He looked like he didn't even know what he was doing, But now that we have 3 drivers in this series now, and it seems like you could tell who's a higher up the hierarchy between in it when you see whoever is using whatever driver. We know that you're higher up if have the vision driver, or maybe one of the drivers that let Zen have. But other than that, this driver doesn't seem all that like this one we have now. I don't like this rider form. I love the color scheme, but what's up with your neck, bro? But other than that, we see that now that I hope that it just seems like now in the next episode, all the stuff that Neon probably was going to be doing, and this whole Desert Star arc that we've been going through, is probably going to be swept under the rug and really not have that much not really have like a really ending to the whole thing because of what's now happened. So all the stuff that Neon has done is probably going to get swept under a rug and probably going to be like not forgotten about. Probably, we don't know yet, but other than that, like it just seems like that's the road that they're going down. and also Betuba. I'm really freaking excited to see what her rider form may look like. And I feel like her, and it looks just like Zen stuff. So maybe I'm thinking her and Zen are probably some type of. I don't think they're related or anything like that. I'm just saying they have to be relative to each other in some capacity when it comes down to it. And that anti-rider thing is like expanding, because now that we got Buffa and Daichi here, so I'm wondering who else they're gonna add to this anti rider team thing that they actually got going on. And I'm actually very excited for that, because there's still a bunch of space over there next to Daichi. But this episode was pretty neutral. I'm neutral when it comes down to this episode. Still a good episode. Still love it. Things like that. But I want to know what you guys think down there in the comment section below. What you guys think of Kamen Rider Geats episode 22. And I'm going to see you guys next time. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay henshined.